On Friday, we were talking on the Sofi Weekly podcast covering the news around Robinhood's latest event around them moving into the banking space. We were critical about Sofi. We were trying to be neutral to both sides of the argument. And a lot of backlash happened online with people who were commenting around Sofi's pace of innovation relative to Robinhood's. And today, earlier, just about an hour ago, we got Anthony Noto responding. And in this video, we're going to cover it and I'm going to share some of my thoughts unfiltered. Let's jump right in. So, of course, this is an initial reaction for me reacting to this news around Anthony Noto responding. It's actually the longest thing I've ever seen Anthony Noto type, and I've been covering Sofi for over 4 years, which is really, it was a treat to read. And a lot of you who were watching the Bootleg Weekly live stream earlier tonight were able to see my real, raw reaction in the moment as I was reading it for the first time. And in this video, I'm going to include a large portion of me reading and digesting that news from that Bootleg Weekly live stream so that you can also see my live reaction for this news. Yesterday, Noto said, I see and read every word. Cool to see, obviously. Like, we want the leadership of our companies to be interacting. And he reacted to this post that said, Sofi haters, the stock hasn't done anything lately, so it's a great time to sell and buy Hood now because they can deliver me cash to my door. Me and Sofi fam loving that it hasn't run up because we aren't done accumulating shares under 13. Noto interacts way more than y'all think. And if he doesn't, he definitely sees everything y'all post. I see and read every word. And then 24 hours later, 48 minutes ago, literally, we were on this stream while he posted this. All right, let's read this together, guys.
All right.
Rest assured, I see and read every word about our company, our team, and me. It takes great restraint not to reply and connect the massive disconnect by some between what is critical to do and when to do it. I'm sure he's talking about level 1 options here, versus what is not critical to do. It also takes restraint to not react impulsively to defend my team from what I perceive as unfair and unjust treatment. So I think this is like his competitive side coming out a little bit. I am responsible for whatever does or doesn't happen, period. No excuses. And I love to see this, taking accountability. Don't get me wrong. I want everything done yesterday. And no one is pushing harder to move faster and faster and faster every second of every minute of every hour of every day with a founder's mentality than me. That's always been my approach. But doing everything is not realistic, and most of what people may think is important is miscalculated. Do I strike you as a person that knows what needs to be done and decides not to do it? Or perhaps what one thinks needs to be done is not the right priority? That's not to say we are moving at the pace we want. We never will. We make mistakes in execution that cause delays, so learning fast is critical. And we are not always as fast as we want on everything we do. But sometimes being fast out of the gate can cause one to be much slower later, which is the case in a couple of things. So cryptic there, but you think he's talking about Robinhood there, right?
To an extent, and also like alluding to being a banking license, like you're a lot heavier regulated than where Robinhood is. It's kind of like the public versus private. In this case, it feels like Sofi has the public handcuffs and Robinhood doesn't. That's not the case, but I'm just saying that's a metaphor.
So we'll make mistakes that cause delays, and we're not always as fast as we want to be, but sometimes being fast out of the gate can cause one to be much slower later, which is the case in a couple things, only to be able to move 5 times faster in the future. Speed matters, and we will fail without being fast. Like, if we're slow, we fail kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some comments are needed there. But anyways, but fast and wrong is also a failure. A sustainable competitive advantage is the critical success factor that all should be judged. And in this sector, sustainable competitive advantage is grossly misunderstood. And for that, I could not be more grateful. So he's saying, we benefit from you guys being idiots because there's alpha there. You can be sure I will not correct those incorrect points of view, and I would never mention other companies in any regard, saying, hey, I'm not going to respond to anything Vlad does because it's not who I am. We will just focus on our strategy, our priorities, and we will execute and deliver just like we have for the last 7 years. Is the world accelerating again? Yes, you bet it is, and we recognize that way before the last few months. So we are accelerating as well, referring to going back into growth mode, which they announced in the last earnings call. It was lonely being one of the few trying to change the world of finance through a challenging macro backdrop, regulatory winter, and the worst rate changes in our lifetime. But we uniquely delivered durable growth and constant innovation for 20 consecutive quarters. I welcome everyone to run faster, build better, and have a bigger impact because it will cause a swell as it has in the past, and the biggest and best benefit the most, especially those with the best strategy, the best execution, and the fastest builder of competitive, sustainable advantage, which is different than just making announcements or just shipping. I feel like this is a jab. We learned this in 2019 and fixed it in 2020. I couldn't be more confident in our strategy and the sustainable competitive advantage we have and others do not, and that we will continue to build the competitive, sustainable advantage faster than anyone else. We know what needs to be done and are fully committed to doing it. Who dares wins, fresh horses. I think in the last 4 years that I've been covering SoFi, that's the most that man has ever written in a tweet that I've personally seen.
Yes. And I think you can see a lot of emotion there too. A lot of pride, and these are qualities of a good leader, wanting to protect his team, wanting to execute, being hungry to, not really making excuses, but wanting to share the context. Love the post, love the post. And honestly, like this kind of rivalry, it's good, it's healthy. I honestly think that this perceived rivalry, especially now that Robinhood has launched a banking product or is in the process of doing that this fall, will actually cause SoFi to accelerate. It's bullish for SoFi because they do overlap on a few products, right? But largely, they're really disrupting the old way of doing things more so than each other. And so, with this perceived rivalry, with this, like people are like, oh, SoFi is sleepy, SoFi is slow, Noto's asleep at the wheel, which there's some truth to that. But it's overdone, I think. I really think that they'll rise to the occasion. Noto is a competitor, like he's a born competitor. So I'm very hopeful that this lights a even further fire under himself and his team. Yeah, I love this. What do you think, Tevis?
In the last SoFi Weekly and also in my video covering the Hood event, I talked about how the number one thing that I will be looking forward to with regards to SoFi in light of this Hood event is the way that they respond and the attitude that they take towards this. And I think this was a perfect post to summarize both of those things because he was basically like, hey, we do hear you, we do see the value in our product and game on. And we won't talk shit about you. We'll just let our execution do that for us. Overall, I think the post was really good. I think he addressed a lot of points here. He was obviously talking about the competitive nature around them being competitors, around him as a CEO taking responsibility for a lot of the execution that they have so far, but also stuff that hasn't panned out. He also talked about how he sees and reads every single word that is posted online about the company, about the team, about himself as a CEO, and he recognizes a massive disconnect in the market. He sees an opportunity that the rest of us don't see by virtue of being in the seat that he is. He talks about other competitors in the space who are innovating. He talks about initiatives that they internally have tried and how they're not going as fast as they want to be. They never go as fast as they want to be in doing all the initiatives that they have ambitions to achieve. And this honestly was really great because in that Robinhood event, I talked about how my number one thing that I was looking forward to, and I made a post about this on X as well. I said during the Robinhood event, and you can rewind and you can go back to the video last week, the number one thing I wanted to see was how SoFi leadership reacted to this event. Essentially, I did not want to see management brushing this off and playing it off as like, oh, this is not a big deal. We're not worried about other people encroaching into our space, because that to me would have sent the wrong signal. I love the fact that Anthony Noto tackled this head first, and he talked about how he wishes that he could respond to every single post, but he just can't. There's obviously constraints around what he can and cannot say. And in his post, he talks a lot about a sustainable competitive advantage. And I found the word sustainable was really interesting how he put it in there. Is a long-term competitive advantage. He talked about how other companies can do fancy presentations and how they can roll out new product offerings, but by contrast, how SoFi is uniquely positioned to deliver durable growth and constant innovation. Not necessarily to roll out something flashy and then have it go nowhere, but a sustainable pace towards building something for the future and something that really lasts. And that's the thing that they're working towards every single day. That's the thing that they're banding around. That's the thing that they're having as a core tenet in their principles of their company and in their hyperscaling journey. And so this entire post was really great to see because he is acknowledging retail and acknowledging their frustrations. He is saying he is here to play and he is competitive around his stance. He is welcoming the competition and saying they're keeping abreast of everything that's going around in their space with regards to competitors. And he's saying that the moves that they're doing are calculated moves, that many times retail does not recognize the alpha that SoFi has, the competitive advantage that SoFi has. He says it is grossly misunderstood in the sector, and that he could not be more grateful that it is grossly misunderstood. He is saying that this is our opportunity. The fact that the market cannot see the value, the true underlying value that SoFi has, is an opportunity for SoFi. This is something that I've echoed in previous videos to say, well, actually, you have an alpha if you buy SoFi at $11, because in fact, the company might truly be valued at $20 or $30 with all of their initiatives that they have going on behind the scenes. And now you have Anthony Noto flat out saying it himself as the CEO. So this is really great to see on multiple fronts. And obviously, you want a CEO who cares. Obviously, you want a CEO who is competitive in capturing market share. And obviously, you want the CEO who takes responsibility for the actions, but also for the misses of his team and his company. Obviously, there was no product announced here. There was no real unveiling. So a lot of this is just a promise. And a lot of SoFi investors, I mean, a promise is really what a lot of us need to reinvigorate our confidence in the company. I would love to see more. I would love to see them double down on this, to have more communication channels, more methods of relaying innovative product offerings, of relaying how exactly they have that sustainable competitive advantage. We've seen some of it, but a lot of it is shrouded under legalese and regulatory talk and through interviews on CNBC and through investor conferences. So I really want to see him more directly address retail. I want to see him more directly address his shareholders on this base around how exactly they have this competitive advantage. I want him to address the massive disconnect that he sees in SoFi's value with what the market sees. And it's okay if the market doesn't believe him and if analysts take his word for granted, that's fine. I want to hear it. I want retail to hear it, because I think it's going to be important not only to say as a promise, hey, we're here to win and we're here to be competitive and we're here to capture market share, but I also want their actions to speak as loudly as their words do. This is absolutely a fantastic and very welcomed post, because like I said before, it is the longest individual post I've seen from Anthony Noto in the over 4 years I've been covering this company. And so I think that management, as they're hearing and as they're following everything that's posted online about the company, I mean, I'm sure this video included, this is great. It's a good start. And I think it does a lot. It goes a long way for the retail shareholder base. You can just see it in the reactions that people have whenever Anthony Noto posts something positive about the company. But I want to see them follow up with action. I want to see them follow up with events. I want to see them follow up with details around how specifically they're going to achieve these goals and these ambitions. I, as a content creator, want to have the ammunition, tangible, repeatable, scalable, direct, and tactical points to retort whenever somebody says, hey, in fact, SoFi is not an innovator, they're a laggard, so on and so forth. I want to say, well, actually, loan platform business, crypto, technology platforms, so on and so forth, to be able to speak to individual initiatives. I want to be able to speak to what they're seeing with regards to Cash Coach, with regards to their new credit cards. I want to be able to speak to specific statistics within reason, of course, because I understand that they can't offer everything. But obviously, all of that starts with a desire from management to have a stronger connection with the retail shareholder base. And here, at least how I read it, is Anthony Noto wants to have that desire. He wants to be understood by the retail shareholder base. And as a shareholder of SoFi, this is a fantastic and very welcome positive development. I want to see what comes out of this. So I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are. This is what my thoughts are in the moment. I haven't prepared a script for this video. I am just sharing what I think based on what Anthony Noto has said. It's very, very obvious that he is here to compete, that he is here to play. And I, as a content creator and a retail shareholder, want to be supporting him as he does that and supporting SoFi as a company as they do that. I'm just asking for the ammunition to be able to do that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.